Hey everybody, good evening and welcome along to Tech Talk UK. This is a little iPhone 5 release day special, and of course we're recording this on the 21st of September 2012 in the UK. I'm Kev Wright on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by Nick Robinson, better known as Ratcat on Twitter. How you doing, Nick?
I'm fine, thank you very much, apart from I've got a bit of a cold from the kids. They're back at school.
Oh, lovely. Fantastic. Now, of course, we got together only about a week ago and talked about the launch of the iPhone 5, or the release of the iPhone 5, various bits and pieces. It's actually out and about now. I got mine at around about mid-morning. I had to work today. I couldn't avoid it. One of those things you have to do if you want to pay for iPhone 5s, I guess. And I couldn't even get to open it, actually, for a little while. And yours turned up even later than that, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, well, had two on order, but I'd ordered them separately. And my friend's one for a friend, and his turned up sort of earlier late sort of morning, and then mine typically didn't turn up till 4:30. So I was I had one in a box, sealed in a box, and I was sort of thinking, I really wanted to open it, but I thought it's just not fair. He'll be back off holiday tomorrow, and I'm sure he'll want the excitement of opening it himself. So
absolutely. So, what are your initial thoughts now you've opened it? You went for the 64 gig black, didn't you?
I did, yes. And overall, I'm very pleased with it. It's a very classy looking device, I have to say. It's funny, you don't, although it is very thin and a lot thinner than the 4, it doesn't feel as thin as it doesn't feel as thin as it looks, or it doesn't look as thin as it is. I don't really know which way around I'd like to put that, because I think it's because it's still very sort of angular. I think for that reason, although it's a lot thinner than the 4, you don't tend to sort of notice it so much, but you notice straight away how the length and that it's longer. But once you start using it, you don't think of that at all.
No, I mean, we spoke on the last show about the thing looking thinner, but again, it's a classic sort of Apple thing where you probably need to handle it, don't you? And I think a lot of the early reviews, I think, said that. And I think I've not had long. I've only had about an hour or so tonight, but I've done a quick search through the news sites and the tech sites and things. And as usual on the release day of a new Apple product, there's sort of two things going on really. There's I would call them the sneerers, who just like to sneer about things. I'm going to be careful what I say, because I often have a joke about the Symbians and some of the Androids and stuff. I think the difference for both of us, actually, is that we might have a laugh, but we actually go out and buy those products and play with them generally. So we actually get to make a comment on them. But you've also got, which we'll move on to later, you've also got the thing, obviously, with the maps situation, which we'll talk about perhaps in a bit more detail in a few minutes. But when I opened mine, a couple of the people in the showroom at work today were like, "Oh, it's just like the old one," and I suddenly start thinking, but that was a class. I think that's a classic design, really. And what they've done here, as you say, they've elongated it a little bit. It's thinner. It does definitely feel noticeably lighter. And if people, can there be anyone that doesn't know? On the back now, you've got a little bit of glass at the top, a little bit of glass at the bottom, and then the rest of the back is like a black slate-coloured aluminium panel. I think that panel's going to mark up quite readily, Nick. I don't know what you think. I think we already know someone online whose one has come with a couple of marks on it, but it looks to me as if
I've got a feeling. I think it's going to depend where you put it down.
Of course,
like that,
as always, yeah.
But as a rule, having sort of had sort of anodised things for years, sort of like on motorbikes, so we have a lot of anodised stuff. And anodising, although it is quite hard, it's also doesn't work best on like sharper angles. It's better on sort of smoother curves, and so I do think that around the edges there's a good chance you may get on. I don't think you're going to have a problem on the white one, to be honest. I think it'll be on the black one.
On the black one,
and,
but I mean, certainly for me, the black one was the only one to go for.
Me.
Just let's run through it then, because it's not going to be a long show. It's just going to be a sort of short first thoughts for the listeners. I've often said, obviously, I want a bigger screened iPhone. I think it's important to note that the bigger screen doesn't sort of increase fonts or anything. The fonts are still exactly the same size as they were. If you run an old app, I've obviously today is now the very last day. I shall use the official Twitter app, my old pre-4 copy, my old one that I love.
Oh, yeah.
I won't be using that anymore, clearly. Because
it's never going to get an update, is it?
Never going to get an update. It's got the two... On the black one, I have to say, actually, it's not awful because it's got the two black things at the top, but...
Yeah, you don't sort of... I've just been looking at it because a lot of my favourite apps have already actually been updated. I mean, I've had, some of all the major stuff, like Tweetbot for me, Pocket Casts, etc., they've already been updated. And because of that, I was just thinking the first few apps I'd used, I thought, I haven't actually seen it. And just a minute ago, I went and I threw Dropbox up and got hit by the authentication, but that's another story. And I thought, well, actually, the screen is so dark.
Yeah.
Now on this, you don't notice it too much. I think the big thing you sort of tend to notice, I personally think they'd have probably been better having the whole screen to the bottom and left it completely at the black, because you left the border at the top, because you can your thumb, if you're used to typing one-handed with it, which I am, your thumb is slightly now too low from where it would be on an app that takes full screen. Sorry, no, it's the other way around. It's, your thumb's in positions higher. But I mean, to be honest, it's just a slight move in the hand. It doesn't really make much difference. And I think as sort of time goes on, as I said, nearly all the popular apps will certainly be updated.
Yeah.
And I've most of the stuff I use already has, to be honest.
Well, I think that is, if someone is going to get one of these and they're thinking black or white, I think that's a pretty good reason in the early days to go for a black one. Really,
yeah.
I think these older apps, until they get updated, are going to look pretty manky on the white one. Because you're going to have those two big black bars up there. But I've never really been a fan of the white iPhone, even though I was okay with the white S3.
I mean, I picked up a white 4S, and although I didn't mind it, I sort of made up my mind that I'd never get another one.
Yeah, I noticed the screen. It's hard to think how you would improve on the 4S screen, I think, really, because it's a really nice screen, if a bit small, as we've always said. I'm surprised on two levels, really. The colours are much better. Red sort of pop more. I'll tell you what it kind of reminds me of is possibly the first AMOLED screen that I used. This isn't AMOLED, of course. It's an IPS panel, but it really does pop, and it does seem to be. I haven't had a chance. We have no sun in Ipswich today, so I've had no chance to try the old sunlight thing. But it looks to me as if there's a lot less reflection. They said there was. It looked like they've done something.
Certainly, certainly the blacks are a lot blacker. Which AMOLED's very sort of, AMOLED, one thing that really stands out on them is the very, deep blacks. And I think, this, I don't think it's quite to AMOLED sort of levels of deep black. I'm just trying to find something that's all black to sort of check. I can't really.
Just trying to think what the first AMOLED, I think, would have been the Nexus 1, I think, the original Nexus.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm sort of looking at I sort of look at the screen and look at it from all angles, and I mean the angles you can view this thing at is just amazing. It feels like there's no screen there at all, that the pixels are actually sat on top of the screen. There's just it doesn't look like there's any gap between anything. It is incredible.
They've taken away a layer, haven't they, apparently, from what I've read. I mean, all nonsense, some of this stuff you read, but it's pretty simple, really, isn't it? If you want an iPhone, you can afford one, go and buy one. If you want an S3, go and buy one of those. I mean, it doesn't really, there's no big deal either way, really. It gives you an extra row of icons, basically. for anyone that has been under a rock for the last sort of 6 weeks or 6 months probably, it gives you an extra row of icons. So got 5x4 or 6x4, I guess, if you count the fixed dock row at the bottom. That was proven quite useful. There was always a couple of apps that I wanted on the front screen.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I couldn't have, so I've now got those on there. So that's the Android. At this point, the Android users are laughing their heads off, especially if they've got a Note or something where you can have hundreds of apps. But because I was flitting between, I don't know.
I mean, you can on iPhone if you want to use folders, but I don't
want to
use folders. I use folders.
I don't use folders at all.
Further back in the screens, but on my home screen, I don't use folders at all.
I tend not to use them at all, to be fair. Although, having said that, you're back to the old one button press, start typing, and Spotlight search is so good on the iPhone that it doesn't, it doesn't really cause an issue.
Google Plus has found its way back onto my home screen after being sort of relegated to the second screen, and so I've been sort of giving it a bit of thought.
I thought that the speaker, I've been listening to a couple of podcasts, the speaker, I don't think that's improved that much, actually, over the 4S, in my opinion.
I haven't tried it yet. So
I think it's very, very similar. It sounds nice. It's got a little bit more vocals, which is all I really tend to listen to on it really, I suppose. Vocals are very nice on there. You've now got 3 microphones, one on the back. Haven't really had a chance to put those to the test, but you've got one on the back, one on the bottom, and I guess... Actually, I don't know where the third one is. Is it on the top, or is it 2 on the bottom? I don't know, but there's certainly one on the back, up near the camera, in between the camera and the camera flash.
Yeah,
that should lead to some better...
I have tried the new headphones out. I quite liked the original Apple ones. I don't really get on with in-ear particularly, so I used to use the original Apple ones. But one of my ears, they fitted absolutely fantastically, and the other one of my ear was always just, if you kept it in a bit too long, it'd be really uncomfortable. And so I sat and listened to an album, not actually on the new phone, but using my old iPhone, but with the new earplugs, and they are so comfortable. I've never had an earplug.
They look comfortable, don't they?
Yeah, I've never had a pair of earbuds or whatever you call them that have been that felt as comfortable as these. I don't think they're the best sounding ones in the world. It sounds good. Don't get me wrong. It's not. It's as good as anything else that comes with any other phone. And it's certainly as good as the original Apple ones. But I have got a pair that are expensive ones that are really, really good, and the quality I would say is not up with those. But it's for the price of what they're selling them for, which I think was about 25 quid in there. I think if you buy a replacement pair or something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
They're good, and I should certainly be using them just for the comfort side of things, because they are so comfortable.
And it's obviously 32 gig SIM free from Apple, so $599. Yours is $699, I guess. What am I going to get for an iPhone 4S 16 gig? About 300, I guess, or something, or.
Yeah, I sold mine a few weeks back for $295, but that was to Carphone Warehouse. That wasn't a sort of private sale.
So maybe privately, say 300. So that will be a cost of change, if you like, using car terminology of 300 quid. Although I'll have doubled back up to 32, which is kind of where I need to be really. So I don't have to faff about with the music. Although I can get by with 16, but at 529 versus 599, it's a no-brainer, I guess. That's where they've done that. Just going back to the actual unit, I read somewhere that the screen, everyone knows I'm a bit of a screen brightness fiend, and they said the screen was 44% brighter, I think, which I think was a misprint or something, because I haven't read that anywhere. No, I think this 44% is something to do with the colour clarity, but I mean it's all nonsense, because it's just how it looks to you really. But as soon as I restore, I backed up the 4S to iCloud last night. I wasn't actually syncing to iCloud for backups, but when I went to sleep last night, I just popped it on. It said it was going to take 8 hours, but it actually finished after about 2. And the great beauty of this thing, and you still can't do this on Android. Okay, I know there's titanium backup and stuff, but without doing anything, when I got this out of the box at work, I kind of set it up, stuck my details in for my various different Apple accounts, and I just stuck it back in the drawer, to be honest. And, a couple of hours later, I was really busy anyway. A couple of hours later, I went in there, and the whole thing is back to where it was. It's an exact copy. And even this time, because I don't think in the past I've always backed up data. So something like Audible, all I had to do this time for Audible was to literally just put my password in and hope I hadn't run out of activations, which I haven't. And then you're straight back in, and I know it's not that amazing, but you're straight back into exactly where I was with the Steve Jobs autobiography, which I'm nearly finished now, and is really interesting, and can highly recommend it if anybody hasn't. It's not an Audible ad, but if anyone hasn't listened to it, it's,
I'm still on.
fantastic.
I'm on part 2.
Yeah, I'm nearly at the end of part 3. I don't know if it won't prove anything in terms of audio quality, but we'll just play.
The argument made a strong impression on the president. 2 or 3 times over the next month, he told his aides, "We've got to find ways to train those 30,000...
As I said, I don't know if that will prove anything to anybody, but it's such a clear, lovely sound.
It does sound really good.
There just isn't, honestly, there isn't, and I'm not having a go at Android. I've bought enough of the damn things, for God's sake. It is nothing that sounds as good as this. And same in the car, really. They're hooked up to the Bluetooth. Gave that a good testing on 2 separate journeys today, and it works really well. What else have you had a chance to try out? Things like, say, network speed, that sort of thing. I must admit, I haven't had much of a chance with that.
Yeah, I've had a little play with that. My battery life I can't comment on at all yet, because I've had it on the charger. It's not long been off, but it's only sort of dropped 1% since I've been playing with it off the charger, so it's not too bad by the looks of it. What I did do, though, is I ran a speed test. I'm on 3 UK, which is generally sort of, is generally pretty good around here anyway. On my iPhone 4S, I was generally getting around 8 megabits per second. And so I did a test, and the first one I did was about 13.7 megabits per second over 3G, and then I did a test over Wi-Fi. Now, bearing in mind, I've got 100 megabits per second Virgin cable, but I did a test over Wi-Fi, and it was running 75 megabits per second, where it's the most I ever really sort of, even with the 100 megabits, the 4S would only really get up to about 30 something.
Are we sure the testing programs are? Mind you, actually, I've just tested.
You can't be 100% sure, but I do the same test on for the Wi-Fi. I think it doesn't really matter. It's immaterial. But for the 3G, I think that's pretty accurate. I use the same server for each, and it certainly feels that way. It feels it feels almost as fast as my home broadband now using it.
Yeah.
And so that's even without LTE. I think the speed has been much increased.
I can't do a speed test. I just realised, because I've got a home signal. All I'd be doing is testing my Wi-Fi, broadband. Talking about LTE, this phone's obviously got LTE, but we won't be able to use it on 3, will we? It's a different band.
No, the band 3 is using is the same band that Orange or EE will be using.
Oh, is it? I'd read that only EE will ever have it in the UK. It was actually on Tech News Today.
It's I can't say when 3 will get the thing, but EE running 100 megahertz, I believe it is, and basically when they merged with T-Mobile, when Orange merged with T-Mobile, they were told to sell off some of the 1800 megahertz spectrum, which 3 have bought, basically.
Right,
2 units of it, which didn't sound a lot to me, but apparently is a lot. And so I don't think it may not be in the lifetime of us using the iPhone 5 that we actually get to use LTE 3, but I'm pretty sure that it will support 3's LTE. But I'm not 100%. Obviously, I'm not a technician in that way or anything, but I it is certainly the same waveband.
I think my view of it is it's very similar to the iPhone 4S, and I guess if you've got a 4S, it comes down to the old thing. It's going to cost you probably about £300 to upgrade. It depends what sort of situation you are in with a contract. I mean, Jackie's 32 gig was on 3 was £89 with about £39 a month, I think, for the one plan. And that's pretty good value, really, I think, at the end of the day. There's about £100 cash back on Quidco to go with it. And, you know, if I'd have been a little bit nearer the end of my contract, I might have gone for it as well. But I think it is a nice upgrade. It probably isn't going to drag anyone off an S3 into this, because if you've got an S3 and you love the S3, you're clearly not that fussed about the plastic versus the build. So you're probably not that fussed about the build, in which case, yeah, you're going to probably find the S3 is more of a powerful smartphone, if that's the sort of thing you're looking for. All I find is the difference is that the enjoyment level of using an iPhone, whether it be this one, the iPhone 4S, is just a little bit greater for me at the moment on the Apple product. So that's kind of where I'm at. And one thing I will say, a bit of a cliche, but having used this for a couple of hours, there's no way in the world I can go back to the 4S.
No, and I actually will say exactly the same myself. Actually, the speed of the device itself, although it's not, the 4S is a fast phone, but you know the 5 definitely beats it. You can, you know, it's just everything feels that little bit more fluid over the 4S, and that's quite strange to say because the 4S still feels more fluid than just about every Android phone I've ever had. I think, you know, when people, you know, we were saying earlier about, you know, whether it might pick up marks and stuff, and I do think there is a chance it will.
Yeah, the back will, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I was. Did you get a chance to see it in the one of the Android sites actually did a drop test on it against an S3?
No, I didn't. No.
Well, they dropped it. They basically dropped it 4 times. They dropped it from pocket height, from sort of neck height, and then ear height, and then they dropped it straight flat on its face from head height, if you like, so about 5 foot. And other than a few sort of dinks to the surround, it was fine, absolutely fine. They repeated exactly the same tests with an S3 at the same time, and the S3 shattered its screen and cracked sort of where it hit the corners of the plastic. It shattered the screen on 2 sides, and on the final drop, all the back cover and everything flew off. And they said they don't want to believe it, but they said, Apple, you've built a really robust phone.
Yeah, I think, I mean, as far as dropping it goes, I don't care either way.
Don't particularly want to.
Well, if I dropped mine once and it had 1 chip on it, then whatever it cost me, it'd have to go, and I'd have to have a new one. So you know, I couldn't. There's no way. It doesn't matter to me. I wouldn't be able to. Or I'd put in an insurance claim. I'm thinking of insuring this for the first time ever, actually, with one of those square trade type warranties. I think they're in the UK now, so I'm tempted actually to cover it.
I wouldn't want to like big dink in mine, but you know, at the end of the day, I may be in a slightly different situation to you in, you know, that you may end up selling yours at some point through the year, whereas mine, you know, I know now I'll have it till the next one comes out.
Yeah.
You know, I might get another phone in between or something, but I will keep this. So,
I don't think I will. I mean, I think I know I've said this a few times, but I think just lately, if people think what I was like even 6 months ago, you know, 3 months ago even, swapping here left, right, and centre, I'm now doing the sales job, and like I said on the last show, this Scanner Pro thing is just proving its weight. Absolute weight in gold. And yeah, I could faff about finding something else on Android to do it, but that and Parker's Guide and all that sort of thing, I don't think I will be getting rid of it, and I don't think I'll be having any other Android phones. The more I thought about it, the more I've just thought, you know, I've always wanted a bigger iPhone, and now I've got the bigger iPhone. So I think I'm probably done, and I'm not going to make a big fuss about it this time. It'll be what it'll be. But I couldn't go to even an S3 at the moment, and you know, they start talking about the S4 already. It ain't going to be out until next year sometime probably, I think I'm sort of done with Android. In fact, if they could get the fonts right, I think I'd be more interested in Windows Phone than I would Android going forward, to be perfectly honest.
I think the Lumia 920 looks like a very nice device, as does the HTC one, to be honest. The 8X I thought looked quite nice. So yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna depend what sort of comes in Windows 8, isn't it? Because they've been very secretive about it. So we'll see what happens when that gets. I think it's the end of October.
I think so. I think this was meant to be an iPhone special, but just quickly on WP, I was quite shocked about this HTC thing, where Microsoft suddenly seemed to have ditched Nokia, or sort of like, hang on a minute, you are our lead partner now, or something. I don't know. Did you see that at all?
Yeah, I did. I was interested that they were actually allowed to call it the Windows Phone 8X, because it's given it sort of the full Windows Phone branding as such, hasn't it? Rather than calling it a different phone like the Lumia 920 or something like that.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I thought actually HTC. I know it's only sort of like a week after the Nokia thing, but if things had been a bit different, would it be Nokia suing HTC for pitching their design?
It looks exactly the same.
Very similar, aren't they?
In the yellow especially, they just look identical, don't they?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. What else do we need to cover? I think I want to keep this fairly short so we can get it up straight away tonight, mate.
I like the lightning plug.
The plug is
a lot of fuss being made about that around the interweb.
Plug is fine. I'm not bothered. I've got one. We've got two phones now, so there'll be one. I'll take one lead to work, and we'll keep one lead here. And I'm kind of done, really. I might get a third one for the car, but I doubt I'll need it.
I bought a couple of spares, one for me and one for my friend. Sort of more or less straight after they announced the. It was coming out, because I thought I'm going to need at least one spare lead, so I ordered a couple of them before everyone else did, and so they dispatched those on Monday, and I think it was the arrived Tuesday, didn't they, or Wednesday? I sort of tweeted a few
I think so. Yeah, I'm quite surprised, pleasantly, by I watched a quick sort of bit of video on the thing, very very quick bit of video, and I'm quite surprised by. I kind of thought like half an inch isn't going to make any difference at all, but it does feel nicer in the widescreen sort of thing. Surprised how quickly I got used to it. Maybe I think it's because of the build quality, and you want to keep picking it up, and the buttons feel nice and everything feels nice about it. I think in summary, people are going to want to know, is it worth upgrading? I mean, I don't think they should really listen to us anyway. It's not for us to say, is it?
It's not, because any phone choice is a personal preference, and
exactly.
Sort of thing. I would say if you're in the middle of a 2-year contract and you've got a 4S, you probably might as well just see out your contract and wait till next year.
Agree.
But so if you've come to the end of a contract and you're looking to get one on, then and you want to stay in the iOS thing, it's a no-brainer, really.
I think I was right a couple of shows back when I said that it's almost time to choose the ecosystem. You're going to be able to have some flexibility in terms of, I wouldn't want Google Mail to disappear.
No.
I'd have a problem with that. But if Apple, and they're not going to anyway, but if they dropped it or they wouldn't let their mail app access it, then I'd just use the Gmail app. And I strongly think that Google Maps will have an app out, and I've stated publicly I think they'll have an app out in the store within a week. I don't think Google are going to hold off on it just to pee Apple off, and I don't think Apple are going to actually block it or whatever. I think it's just going to get released pretty quickly and job done. My God, these updates are coming thick and fast, aren't they?
They are.
Just 3.
Yesterday was the worst for me. Because I tend to have a lot of apps on my phone, which is why I go for the 64 gig, And I got 370 apps. And yesterday I had about 40 updates.
At last, I can press the update all button and not have to do them one at a time, so Twitter doesn't get updated. And I understand the new Twitter is crap, but I am firmly now tweet-botted up on both. So until Twitter completely kill that off, which hopefully they won't for a long time, I'll be happy just using that. But it is nice to be able to just press update all. I've got another 11. I think I've done 10 earlier, so it's going crazy at the moment. But
not to get sort of caught up on the Twitter thing, but the one thing that really sort of irritates me about the official app, and I can sort of more or less live with it apart from that, is the thing that when you, if you've been away for about sort of 6 hours and you come back and you've got a gap in your stream of tweets, if you press the load more tweets, instead of leaving you at where you are 6 hours ago, let you read up the tweets, it takes you to the top of the gap. It really annoys me because then you've got to sort of scroll down and try and find where you were in your sort of tweet stream. But apart from that, I could probably live with it, but that sort of annoys me.
At the bottom, I think the bottom line is these days we've got it too good because we all find, we all find too much to moan about, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We all sort of do it. The people that are going on about maps at the moment, I mean, maps on handheld devices used to be absolutely appalling. They used to literally crawl across the screen, for example, and stuff like that. And I think as far as maps go, the Apple ones will get sorted out. Yeah, it's all a little bit sort of childish, this drop and Google and stuff. But the bottom line is, this is the bottom line, isn't it, with Google, really? We are holding in our hands Apple's product.
Yeah.
If you're holding an S3 with Google stuff on it, you are the product. Google are selling you. That's what Google's product is. They're this thing about Android being some cuddly, free, open thing. Yeah. It's about advertising.
It's like YouTube, isn't it? In the YouTube app on Android, and now in the one they've released for iOS, you get adverts. Yeah, there are. It depends what videos you watch, obviously, but you can now get adverts in it. Which you could never in the iOS one. But then a lot of videos weren't able to be shown in the iOS one because they couldn't show the adverts. So it swings and roundabouts really. But at the end of the day, Google are there to make money from search, from YouTube, from maps, and for that reason, I'm sure there will be a Google Maps app.
Oh yeah, and I think sooner rather than later. But I'm just updating Navigon. I've got TomTom. There's no shortage of that, is there? But it's we said we wouldn't go on about it, and we are a little bit. But obviously you've probably seen the one of the Hoover Dam where the thing just goes off the edge, and it is literally because this thing is brand new, isn't it? And Google Maps, I mean, I can't honestly remember back, but I can't imagine Google Maps from release 1 was superb and brilliant and complete, because I'm sure it wasn't, to be absolutely fair.
No, but the original sort of satellite pictures on Google Maps, certainly from around here, were horrible.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it was fairly obvious both of us were going to be taken with it. Although I think I would have been quite happy to admit that if it wasn't, I'd be quite happy to do it. And you can probably sell this 600 quid one for about 750, 800 quid at the moment, I expect. So I would have been quite happy to do that if I didn't like it. But I can honestly say I love mine. You do yours. And I guess we'll be back in about a couple of weeks and we'll have a bit more input. If anyone wants to come on and talk iPhone 5 on the next show as well, more than welcome. Just get in touch with us. I am Kev Wright on Twitter. You are?
At Ratcat on Twitter. R-A-T-K-A-T.
That's it, R-A-T-K-A-T. And that'll do us for tonight, I think, mate. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yep, see you soon.
Cheers, folks.